I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Here we go. It's another edition of the Daily Puck Drop, a Monday edition, your daily sports podcast. Inside the Limback Lumber Studios. Contractors that got free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects. The largest stock moldings in the Northwest. You know, for the longest time, I had no idea what a stock molding was, but now I do. Old school service. They've been doing it since 1930. Give them a call, 206-782-3487. You can visit them online at limbacklumber.com. You can follow the show on the social media platforms on X and Instagram at Puck Sports, Puck_sports on TikTok, and you can find us on Facebook at Puck Sports. Also at pucksports.com, you can become a full member, get full access to all the shows that we do. Also, becoming a member directly supports pucksports.com. It's just $5 a month. You get bonus shows there as well. All right, coming up on the show today, we'll talk Mariners, the funeral that they had for the Astros. The Seahawks marched on over the Saints. We'll talk about the Rotten Apple Cup. Guest today, Michael-Shawn Dugar, coming up here in about 30 minutes or so, talking Seahawks football, all brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. Then we talk more baseball with Bill Krueger of Root Sports. I almost said Root Sports. It doesn't work for Root Sports anymore. Bill Krueger from Old School Baseball podcast fame, and he is terrific today. We tape our sessions early Monday morning, and he is great today, especially when he gets to the breaking down of the Bryan Woo injury. All right, joining us on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully not from a bathroom today. It is Jim Moore, the go-to guy. Hello, right on time as usual.
Well, Puck, I was all proud of myself. I was sitting backstage waiting for you to come to me and waiting backstage, and I was on the Riverside app instead of this one. Yeah, that's what happened there. But I'm brought to you by Brian Turner at A Clean Streak. He also has Bright Owl Lighting. He'll do everything for your Christmas displays. You want the best display in your neighborhood? Give them a call at Bright Owl Lighting, 360-675-2034, or visit brightowllighting.com. Also want to thank a couple of Cougs. They're licking their wounds like I am. Matt Baker, he's at the Angry Beaver in Greenwood. Seattle favorite for years. You want to check it out, go to the Angry Beaver. Cracking games, the best brisket in town, 13 TVs. The Cougs, if you want to watch them again, a little doubtful in that area, but I think we're all going to watch them. Colorado State game, 4 o'clock at the Angry Beaver this Saturday. And Brad Brotherton for Brotherton Cadillac, Northwest and Shoreline, Brotherton Buick GMC, and Brotherton Cadillac in Renton. I know it was a tough weekend for Brad Brotherton, but if you're shopping for a Cadillac, Buick, or GMC, go see Brad. He'll make it simple, comfortable, and a fun experience. You can also visit them online at brothertonauto.com.
How about Brotherton take $56 off the cost of your next Cadillac?
$56 off.
Yeah.
Okay. I think he would do that.
Ask Brad if he'd do that. Now, that's a deal. $56 off your next Cadillac there from Brotherton Cadillac. All right, we got a lot. We got Mariners rolling into first place. They're wearing all black on the plane yesterday for a funeral. Love it. You got the Seahawks just curb stomp the Saints. That was the Rusty Tillman game. God, Rusty's looking down from heaven, smiling ear to ear, watching that game yesterday.
Couldn't have been better special teams wise.
And then we've got the Rotten Apple Cup, the Rotten Cup. Well, it was great for 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter. Where do you want to start? I feel we should start with the Mariners, Seahawks, and then get the Apple Cup.
I think so.
But I think there's a lot of people here that are like, well, we want to hear, like, how much does Jim still hate Jedd Fisch? Does he hope Jedd Fisch gets hit by a car? Like, what?
No,
nothing.
No,
nothing
I want him to go to
so-
Florida. So, like, even if we lose this, or even if Ohio State loses,
why do we want him to go to Florida so bad? Why?
I don't know.
So they would look for another coach. Is that why?
Yeah, I just like upheaval and turmoil over there on Montlake.
Okay. It's not because he's so desirable as a head coach.
No.
Okay.
No.
It's just
you kind of want him to go to Florida too.
Just so they have to look for another head coach? Sure, right on. But you know what happens, though? Actually, no, because you know who I think ends up coming back is DeBoer. So maybe not.
Well,
maybe we want him to stay.
Yeah. No, I don't know. We don't have much to say about the Apple Cup, do we?
I got a lot to say about it. I got a lot to
Okay, can next year's game just be 45 minutes instead of 60?
Sure, we can work on that one. I want to get your thoughts on it. You were there. The crowd looked great. Scenery was awesome. It was a great game for 3 quarters, and then it got away from him in the 4th. Let's go. But first, let's start with the Los Marineros. Man, they did it. They buried them. This is exactly what we wanted them to do, Jim Moore. Take control of your destiny in your own hands. Bury them with your own hands. Don't allow the A's to do it or the Angels to do it for you. You do it for yourselves, and they did. They finally slayed them. God, it was great.
Yeah, don't you look at it as a changing of the guard moment? I mean, that was that was they sure. And I saw your Twitter, what you said there. You talk about a statement. The Mariners made a statement. They did everything you wanted them to do. I mean, there was no period at the end of their statement. There were like 18 exclamation points. And, I don't know what the GIF version of that was, but I'm sure there's all kinds of GIFs out there from Mariner fans on Twitter today. But it was impressive. It was very impressive. Every single thing they did. And they showed everything they have in that lineup, the pitching, the starting pitching. And Puck, I'm not really even surprised by this. I should be. But when I went to DraftKings this morning, they're favored in the American League. They're favorites in the American League to make it to the World Series for a franchise that has never been there in nearly 50 years of existence. They're favorites right now to make it to the World Series. 2-1 odds on your Seattle Mariners to go to the World Series. And they're like just plus 475. So it's like 5-1 odds to win the whole damn thing. They have better odds to win the World Series than the Los Angeles Dodgers. And how much have they spent on their payroll down there? The Dodgers are like at 5-1. The Mariners are plus 475. And I want to bet more money on them. I mean, they should be the favorites because they have a hell of a lineup and a hell of a pitching staff. It's not just the rotation. It's the bullpen too. They've got everything going for them. They've won 14 of 15. I mean, it's insane what's going on.
I think FanGraphs has them with the best percentage to win it.
To win the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And normally we'd be going, yeah, right. Yeah. Usually at this time of year, we're going, maybe next year. Or we're going, yeah, they could get in the playoffs and maybe if everything breaks right, they're going to, get to the World Series. But this year, they don't need a bunch of luck. They've got skill in their corner this year. They've got skill everywhere. They got so much talent. It's crazy. It's just crazy what Naylor and Suarez have done. Even Ferguson's been better. I mean, these acquisitions they made at the trade deadline.
Wait, hold it on Ferguson.
Well, he's been better than he was earlier on.
Sure.
I know he's not a key part to it, but what
he makes me nervous. He makes everybody nervous.
Well, okay. But yeah, what a fun weekend.
Yeah, it was great.
People there at Martin Stadium, they had their phones out watching the game. I was peeking over a guy's shoulder, in the 9th inning. It got dicey.
Yeah, the friend's house that we were at, you had 2 screens, it just was back and forth, one on the Cougs, one on the Mariners, and it just you're going back and forth. You're cheering, when Cal hits the home run, Gabe Spire gets out of a huge jam there in the 8th inning, and then the Robles catch. And I said this to Bill Krueger, and I'm going to run it by you. It's hard to pick the best play of the year and not have it involve Cal Raleigh, but that's the best play of the year.
Well, when you think about what could have happened if that catch isn't made.
Correct.
So what is it? It's 6-5 and there's still 1 out. And
it's everything.
And then all of a sudden, if the Astros tie it up and win it in extra innings, then yesterday's game there wouldn't have been so much pressure on the Astros. It would have seemed like there'd be more pressure on the Mariners in yesterday's game if they had lost Saturday night, because they would have blown it. It would have blown their confidence a little bit. And yeah, I mean, it was just so crazy because the camera guy, all you could see was Julio. Come on, Julio, get that. And then Robles from out of the frame shows up, swan dives, and catches it. It was amazing. Yeah,
well, that was that was the best part of the cameras, that you're like, Well, he's not going to get it. Now he's pulling up just to let it drop because he can't get to it. And then just out of nowhere, just boom, he flashes across your television and he makes the grab. And I just think of everything that was on the line there. One, it's the game-saving play. They end the game with it. He doubles up. They double up the runner at second. And I think also for Victor Robles, what that should tell all of his teammates, coaches, and fans. I mean, here's a guy that was out for the season because he did kind of the same thing, but going into a net at Oracle Field or whatever we're calling it there in San Francisco and making a great, spectacular play, right? You would think a guy like that would be nervous about making another diving play like that. Nope. No disregard for his body. 100% all out. You show that to every kid that plays youth sports. Every kid. You go all out. And he did, and just guy's phenomenal. Yeah,
you think Randy would have dived?
So should we still have him and Canzone battle for the starting spot in right field? I'm just curious. You still feel that way, or
what are you lobbying for? You lobbying for Robles to be out there full time because he made one great catch?
You still feel that he should? Remember that was your big deal. Go,
Did Victor hit 3 home runs in one game last week? I forget.
Remember when you were like, God, Robles, I don't know if he'll ever start again now with Canzone.
I didn't say that. I didn't know if he should be the starter when he comes back. They're fine going right, left with those two guys, aren't they?
Of course. I'm just giving you shit. I mean, it's great. He's a defensive. I mean, he'll always play late in games, defensively when he's not starting. But just, play of the year, unbelievable catch. Just great. And now you look at where they're at, and they've got a 2-game lead on Detroit, which is really 3 because of the tiebreaker, really a 4-game lead on Houston with 6 to play. And now you start thinking, I mean, they're going to win the division. They are likely going to get the 2nd seed. That means they're off until October 4th, which, again, I know there's people that debate whether it's a good or bad thing. I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great thing. They need to get off their feet a little bit. The catcher needs to relax. And it's great because now you got Bryan Woo dealing with a pec injury.
That's the best thing about being the number 2 seed really right now. And I know you want to avoid that first-round series, but getting the bye and with Woo – I'm sure he's not going to pitch in his next start.
No way.
I mean, why would you? Why would you have him out there? So get him some rest and get him at 100% coming into the playoff series, and you're good to go with it. And they're going to wrap this thing up probably in the Rockies series. Now, they'll still maybe need to win a game or 2 against the Dodgers to get that 2 seed. But the way Detroit's playing, you don't really have to worry too much about them anymore, do you?
Yeah, I mean,
I think they're playing. Are they playing Cleveland and Boston? I think that's who they're playing this week.
Yep.
So if you can sweep the Rockies and I don't know, you talk about you just can't show up and beat a team, but maybe with the Rockies you can.
Yeah,
they're 43 and 113, and they've won 18 games on the road all year.
Yeah, 18. We need them to lay down. Just lay down like you have all season long. I mean, how about the Tigers? I mean, they had this thing wrapped up, and they have just coughed it up. Now Cleveland's got a chance to win the division. It was like a wild card. Now they got a chance to win it. And Detroit's got to end their season on the road. I mean,
and then don't you just want Houston to not even make the playoffs at this point?
Of course, I don't want them to make the playoffs. And now that you look at how the playoff seedings are at right now, I just think this is the best. This is the win-win best case scenario. They would face, if it started today, they would face the winner of Detroit and Cleveland. Sign me up. That is the best news in the world. Best news, and punch your ticket right to the ALCS.
Yeah. Well, you'd be concerned about Cleveland more than Detroit right now.
Well, sure, but I'm not really concerned about either.
No. And then you got the home field.
Yep.
So, it went from last week going, God, I hope they can squeeze in as the 6th seed if they don't win the West. And now you're all the way up to the 2 seed. Yeah, and they got an outside shot at catching the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays have a 3-game lead, and they probably won't do it because they have the tiebreaker against the Mariners. But still, the 2 seed, the Mariners are going to get a bye in the first round. That's going to be fun. That's what other fans do. They sit back and watch other teams play for a while, and you can kind of size up, well, let's see, who do we want to win this series? Because we're going to face whoever the winner of this series is next. And Yeah, it's all fun stuff.
I guess the only thing that would concern you if you look at Cleveland and Detroit to see if we look ahead, we get way ahead of ourselves. Is ironic? You probably want to rather face Detroit just because Cleveland, they got a number of lefties and Ramirez a switch hitter, and they've clearly, the Mariners starters have had their issues when they have to face a lineup with a bunch of lefties, and so. But we'll cross that when we get there. But God Almighty,
I mean, we could
unreal.
We can have all these debates. Everybody's going to be having these debates like, okay, who should they start in game one? God,
Sure.
you want to go with Woo, but yeah, he's coming off that injury. He's been so good. He's been consistent, but man, you might want to rest him and have him go game two. Castillo with the veteran experience. But what about Logan? All this stuff. It's just, corner bar talk that we do here on this podcast.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And then meanwhile, so then we got the Mariners. They start after the Seahawks. The Seahawks just whoop up on the Saints. I mentioned the Rusty Tillman game. For those out there not old enough, Rusty Tillman used to be the longtime special teams coach for the Seahawks in like the 80s and 90s under Chuck Knox. He just was, I don't know. He was regarded as like the best special teams coach in football. So every time they make a play on special teams, I like to refer to Rusty Tillman.
They always showed him on the sideline because he was a fired up guy.
Yeah, and he's always chomping gum, and he had great, like, kind of long, like a mullet, curly hair, and he was just a big, tough. He just looked like a football coach, just mean and just all fired up. And it was Tory Horton joined Ingram and Joey Galloway. I read during Condotta's notes is the only wide receivers have a punt return, then also receiving touchdown, 95 yards on the return. That looked great. They blocked the field goal. Just flying around, and that was such a great game, Jim, because they have a game on Thursday with Arizona, and I mean it's been a long time. I can't recall watching an NFL game in which you are resting your starters with 14 minutes to play in a game.
No, it was over in the first quarter, and you're right. NFL, it occurred to me too yesterday. College games, you see blowouts like that all the time. In fact, we saw one in Pullman over the weekend. But
not to this degree, not like that.
Well, it's 35 points in the end.
Yeah, but this was a blowout.
Saints lost by what, 31?
This was a blowout from the second the game started.
I know. Lord. I'm still bitter. But no, that was fantastic. Every phase of the game they excelled in. Yeah. Now you could say, well, okay, Spencer Rattler, and they flash that graphic. He's 0-9 as a starting quarterback. That's the same Saints team that gave San Francisco everything they wanted last week. I mean, they damn near won that game against the 49ers in New Orleans. So
they battled Arizona and San Francisco. Wasn't Arizona their first game?
Yeah.
Yeah, they played those guys tough, both of those games. So yeah, I wouldn't just completely dismiss what Seattle did yesterday. And a lot of this offseason hype about this defense certainly coming to fruition. You had Ernest Jones after the game saying yesterday, quote, "We're going to make it hard on you to run the ball on us. If you do, good luck." I mean, they're number 2 in points now given up. They're number 7 in rushing yards allowed, 14th in total defense. They're 4th in takeaways. So, yeah, there was a lot of hype about this defense in the offseason. Right now, they're playing great.
Well, yeah, and they had their best defensive player out yesterday. And you had Julian Love out too.
Well, Love, Witherspoon, Eamon Wari being out. Just.
And these guys, you got to be a dyed-in-the-wool Seahawks fan to see, all these guys out there making plays. Usually when a coach says, yeah, we'll just next guy, steps up. Yeah, okay, coach. But usually the next guy is not as good as the guy that he's replacing. But the Seahawks didn't miss a beat defensively yesterday.
Great. It was great.
And the block punt was awesome because it was, who was it again? Help me.
It was Bell.
Bell, okay. But the way he flew in there, instead of, so often you see a guy who beat, and no one was blocking him, but you get there in time, but you go into the punter, and he timed that perfectly and didn't hit the punter. And it was just terrific, just, in every way.
I like good special teams play, Jim. I'm the special teams coordinator for the Ballard Junior Football Knights. So I like good special teams play. I took the role just because of Rusty Tillman. All right.
Well, okay. How'd that work out Saturday?
Special teams was great. Great special teams. Got a punt off, good kickoff coverage, good quick return.
Okay.
Lost a tough one.
What was the final score?
Lost a tough one. We don't need to talk about the final score. It was just you know what, boys are going to regroup, get ready this week for Everett.
Okay.
All right. It's okay. Heads were held high after the Ballard Knights All right.
Even the vampire too?
Well, I mean, not initially. No. Got to give him about 20 to 30 to 40 minutes to kind of cool down, and then you can talk to him again. But we went right to an Apple Cup party, so it was great. All right, everyone wants to know, how was it? How was the atmosphere? It looked great on TV. How were the beer sales? How's River doing? How's Sky doing?
Yeah, sorry about that. Hey, River, stop.
Yeah, there we go.
River, come here. River. I've seen people at the park or school.
There you
go.
Yeah,
no, it was so much fun. It was so much fun till the fourth quarter started. Yeah.
Okay.
It was went to Valhalla, ran into Joel Damon.
I saw that.
Cool.
I saw that. I saw the picture.
I got to admit, I was kind of starstruck. And for anybody who doesn't know Joel Damon, he was the star of the Netflix Full Swing last year and PGA Tour professional. And
we're going to talk to Joel Damon this week.
God, I was just a dumbass, like usual, because I started out with $100 bet with him, and then it went to 150 earlier in the week, and then I saw him, and I was feeling kind of cocky after having a couple of tequilas on the rocks, a little lime in there. Yeah. I go, why don't we make it 200, Joel? Yeah. And so, I mean, I owe this PGA golfer $200 now. And I got to wait until my Social Security payment comes on Wednesday before I can pay it.
Well, your bet,
and he's out there making hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, and I'm waiting for my Social Security check to pay this guy for a stupid bet I made on my alma mater in the Apple Cup.
Hey, anyone that had him at 20.5 was feeling real good as they entered that fourth quarter.
Well, and he gave me 21.5, and so I'm just kind of sitting there thinking, well, yeah, we might lose, but I think we're going to lose by 21. And then Jedd had to just go, hey, Damon, just go ahead and keep throwing. Keep throwing on these guys.
You were real upset that he
what an unclassy guy he is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Why does it see?
Well, you felt the same way. I saw your tweet. You were like, I'd really appreciate it if the Huskies,
Well, that was at
had their starters sit, huh?
No. That was at
what was it you said? You wanted somebody to exit. I don't know what the hell
Damon Williams. That was at halftime. I'm like, I was just being a joke. I wanted him to leave the game.
I thought you were thinking in the fourth quarter. They were running it up on us, though.
Oh, so what? You know what? Stop them. Pete, come on, man. Grow a set of balls. Who cares? Come on.
I care. Show some class. And then somebody pointed out, hey, you thought it was pretty cool when Delora planted the flag at Husky
Did you like
Stadium.
that?
Well, that's different. That's different. Okay. I talk out of both sides of my mouth. Give me a break.
It didn't
I'm
bother
old
me.
and I'm getting senile, dementia, all that shit if you want. I don't care.
It didn't bother me. Truthfully, it did not bother me at all because I knew that's what he was going to do if he got up there, because for Jedd Fisch is the type of coach, style points mean more to him than anything in the world. So he wanted to win by a lot, but he also wants Damon Williams to win a Heisman. So that's why he kept him in. If I were a Washington fan, truth be told, if I would have been yelling that he was still in the game. You know how many bad hits he took in that game? He took like 3 or 4 bad hits to the head. Well, and if I'm a Washington
fan, seemed to be running in space more than he was taking bad hits.
He was fantastic. He was a fantastic football player. I mean, he was the difference in the game. He was the number one reason they won. But I'm just saying, if I were a Washington fan, having him in there at the end when he had been taking, there was go back and watch. There's 3 hits he takes in that game where, he's an injury away from being done. So if I were on the other side, not the running up the score, do whatever you want. It's not their job to stop themselves from scoring. It's the opponent's job. But when you have a starter in there doing that, running around and throwing the ball, you risk the injuries, and now all of a sudden he's out for Ohio State. That didn't happen, but I don't know. I said before the game that I wanted to. I'd learn a lot about Jimmy Rogers and his coaching staff. I thought they played for 3 quarters. They were right there with them. They were one stop away from making a play. I think he said it after the game. I understood what he was trying to do, but you really. And again, my buddies made great points after it. I thought it was a mistake on the onside kick.
No.
But hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish what I was going to say. But they said, hey, we couldn't stop him.
Yeah.
He goes, if they recover it, we're sitting there going, he's a genius. So I get it. And so I think looking back on it, no, I think it was the right call. They didn't execute it. They didn't execute it because no one hit the kid. I mean, someone's got to hit the guy. Someone's got to get in his way. And there was all these Cougars there because he was the only one there, by the way. It would have worked out perfectly because and I don't know who it was, but he was the only one there. And so now I think looking back on it, I think it was the right call. They could not stop them defensively. They had no hope of ever getting them to punt the football. So
no, I liked it even after it happened. I thought, you know what? We took a shot. We took a shot there. And so they got the ball at our 35-yard line, and it took them 2 plays to score? Maybe it was 1 play. But I was just sitting there going, well, okay, they could have had the ball at their own 30 or whatever and scored 5 plays.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And then there was a chance that if we'd recovered, and they weren't really stopping us either. And then we could have, if we'd scored on that drive, if we'd recovered the onside kick, then it would have been a tie game, and who knows what happens from there. So I didn't fault him for trying that.
When you watch that game, and I said this, I think after a few hours after the game, and a few people got upset with it and whatever, but it just the only explanation I have is that there must have been some discipline issue at Sevillac House. That to me, that's the only viable explanation, because there is no way after sitting back and watching that game, you go, oh, no, the other two are better. There's just no way, Jim. So then I'm wondering, the only, again, explanation that I think makes sense to me is that he violated something, that he did something wrong and they punished him. I don't know. You tell me. I did listen. I listened to Rogers post game and Zevi post game, and Rogers did talk about that Zevi's training camp wasn't very good. And Rogers even said, we know what he did against Syracuse in the Holiday Bowl and all that. But it sounded like, and then when they talked to Zevi reporters after the game, it sounded like Zevi even admitted I didn't have my best stuff in training camp. I was probably pressing a little bit. But yeah, clearly when you watch that game, I mean, he gave us the best chance to win and he proved it. And now, going forward, I'm just sitting there going, okay. I mean, and then even Rogers, usually he's like, well, I got to wait to see my depth chart when I'm going to have a bunch of announced it right away.
He already announced it that he's starting against Colorado State.
No,
so now we have some hope with Zevi as the quarterback.
Jim, he didn't just say that. He said he's the starter the rest of the season.
Yeah,
so then I'm thinking, wait a minute. Okay, he played great, but why was he not the starter week 1 then?
Yeah,
I'm just
ready to abandon this running game that we try and run and we can't do it. We just can't do it. So let's just air raid the damn thing.
Well,
out.
No, I will say, they're not going to abandon it, but the Voorhees needs to be the number 1 running back. I need to see Pelosi get some carries. Angel Johnson, I don't know what this guy had so much hype coming from South Dakota State, and he has just looked terrible. Terrible.
Well,
and I know it's not all his
run.
fault. It's not all his fault, but but I think the way the offense, if you ever watch the highlights of South Dakota State and see how they played on Saturday with their offense is exactly how they looked at South Dakota State. That's what is so mind-boggling to me. Like all those plays they ran, the quarterback runs, that little pass out in the flat, that's how they played there. And then when you inject Potter into it as a starter, they don't run any of that because he's zero threat to run the football ever. Yeah. And then Duggar, I just don't know what they're doing with him. Like even when the game got out of hand in the fourth quarter, he comes in, not Potter. Like I would love to know what they think they have in Julian Duggar. I really want to know.
I think, Puck, when I left Martin Stadium, though, I think the reason I was more depressed than usual, and let's face it, watching Cougar football for 50 years, I've seen a lot of losses, like too many to count. But it just occurred to me that, God, all these people are saying, you know what, you guys are just an FCS team now. And I'm just kind of like going, yeah, shit, they're probably right.
I don't agree with that.
Okay, well, I do right now. We're at a lower level right now. And, we're kind of on a par with Colorado State and all these other teams.
But those aren't FCS teams.
Well, I know they're not. But do you think of them as like this major caliber FBS? I just look. I'm having a hard time looking at us being a lower level team. I haven't made that transition yet. I just haven't done that, and I'm, the whole. I mean, it just feels like we're getting left behind, and we can't afford to keep up. Like look at, I mean, Zevi's in his last year, right? But let's say we have some receiver who's a standout all year, Ellison or whoever else. Well, he's not going to be here next year because we can't afford to keep him.
Well,
and again, I appreciate what the collective is doing. It occurred to me, too, as I walked out of Martin Stadium, and I know the Apple Cup series is going to continue for another few years, but I think we've won our last Apple Cup. And I hate saying that. I mean, I don't know how we're going to be able to. It's just the divide is going to get wider and wider and wider talent-wise, and I just don't see how we're going to be able to beat the Huskies anymore. And we don't. And even when the playing field was level, we didn't do it all that often.
Yeah.
But
now, it was never level though. It was. See, that's why I disagree with you. It was never. It was never level.
If it's a word, it was leveler than it is right now.
It was never level. And one, you're 1 year removed from beating them. Number two, there was a game that got away from them in the fourth quarter because they've got 3 special kids that are on that offense, and just a dynamic Heisman-worthy quarterback in Damon Williams, and Denzel Boston is terrific. And Coleman, for the most part, he didn't have to do much on the ground, but in the receiving wise, was terrific. There's nothing special about that defense. I'm sorry, there's just not. So they didn't. So there's we didn't punt till the fourth quarter. There's not some unbelievable talent gap on defense between the two. The difference is 3 players. 3 players. Now, again, I'm simplifying it, but the biggest difference is 3 star players. And again, yeah, does money help with that? Sure. But they've always been, Jim. I mean, we're Cougs, but they've always been a lower down, even in the Pac-10 and Pac-12, they've always been a step down of those other teams. I would just remind people of, and maybe you or others didn't see the game. The San Diego State team that this team beat by how much?
Yeah, by 34-13, was it?
You saw what they did this weekend?
36-13. I did. I was at my office watching. Yeah, 34-0 to Cal. Cal got beat 34-0.
San Diego State beat Cal 34-0.
Yeah.
They're again, they are not as bad as what we saw in North Texas.
Yeah. And North Texas beat Army.
So I'm just, hey, there we go. Moving up the polls.
It took them overtime, but they did it.
Yeah. How was the crowd?
I hate having that attitude, though. I do. Yeah. I don't want to feel that way. God, I was just depressed, though, leaving Martin Stadium. So.
How was last thing for you? How was it to buy beer in the stadium?
Well, I didn't buy any.
Well, that's unfortunate. Really?
I heard the lines were so long that somebody told me, like instead of here in the student section, go down in the end zone, the lines are shorter. But my buddy, he smuggled in some Buffalo Trace in the airplane bottles.
Oh, wonderful. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed to work. No one left. That's what they're kind of aiming for, people not to leave. So
yeah. Saw people going down the stairs about midway through the fourth quarter, but
well deserved. All right. That is it for us. What was I going to say? Nothing else. We've covered it all. Mariners, Seahawks, Cougs. Got Michael-Shawn Dugar waiting by.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll talk to you later, Puck. We're going to talk to Damon, right?
We are going to talk to Joel Damon coming up later. Not on this, but it will be played later in the week. We'll talk Apple Cup. He loves the Mariners. We'll talk a little Mariners, a little Seahawks. Big reason why. Ryder Cup is this week. He's our Ryder Cup correspondent at Puck Sports.
Yeah, it should be good. He wants to talk about the bet. I'm one of those guys that, if you make a bet, you got to pay. I don't know if he wants me to wash his car or do something in lieu of, paying him $200, but.
Well, let's see.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's ask him.
We'll find out.
All right, Jim. We'll see you. We'll see you on Wednesday. Be well.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs. Jim Moore, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays on the Daily Puck Drop. Brought to you by A Clean Streak. Also, the Angry Beaver. And, of course, a Brotherton Cadillac. And as I mentioned there, we're going to catch up with Joel Damon. We're going to talk to Joel just about the Ryder Cup that is coming up. In addition to, we'll get a little Seahawks talk, a little Mariners talk, and a little Apple Cup with Joel Damon, PGA golfer. That episode coming out later this week. Let's talk Seahawks football. The Dugar Report with Michael-Shawn Dugar from The Athletic. All brought to you by Georgetown Brewery.
Drink Georgetown Tavern Beer. Your new, locally brewed, domestic style lager. 4.2% alcohol. Cheap, good, local.
Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Michael-Shawn Dugar from The Athletic. You can follow Mike on social media at Mike Dugar, host of the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, author of The Franchise, a detailed story on the Seattle Seahawks, available wherever you find your books. The Dugar Report with Michael-Shawn Dugar, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. Again, makers of Manny's, Rogers Pilsner, and Georgetown's new Tavern Beer Tasting Room and Beer Garden, open daily from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Visit georgetownbeer.com. Mike, well, that's one of those games. Fans get a kick back and relax, but you as a media member, as a beat reporter, relaxing.
Yeah, it was a good time. It's a good time. I got little kids at the house, so the quicker I can get from Lumen Field back to the kids before bedtime is great. And this is one of those where I believe it's probably my faith in Mike Macdonald. Once it was 21-0, I was like, oh, this is over. Like, we're not going to get a comeback situation here, a letdown. I don't remember if Pete has had any real bad ones like that, but I just knew that was not on the table. Once it was 21-0, I think I reached out to my editor via Slack and was like, Spencer Rattler against the Mike Macdonald defense with a 3-touchdown lead. Like, this could get ugly. Spencer actually played okay given those circumstances. I thought 1 turnover, only 2 sacks. But yeah, I knew that was a wrap. And I was like, John, I wrote about this a little bit in my post-game story. I was like, if you're John Snyder, like, this is why I hired this guy, because if you remember that 2023 Baltimore defense was responsible for some serious beatdowns, that final year, including the Seahawks. They shut down the Lions that year, the Jags that year, the Niners that year on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve or whatever on Christmas. And those were teams that were scoring points. Those were all first place teams, top 12 offenses, I believe all of them, top 10 in some cases. And McDonald just made it so they couldn't function. And if you're John Snyder, you're like, I want that here. And you never really got it, until Sunday.
And I think what makes it even more impressive, Mike, is the fact of the number of guys on defense that were out. Julian Love, Witherspoon, Eamon Ward. I mean, significant starters. And the guys that they're plugging in there, it doesn't seem to be, none of them seem to miss a beat at all.
Yeah, I love that they call the practice squad the ready squad. I think that's a real, just great, small, but significant change in words matter, right? They do. If you're on the practice squad, that's all you do. You practice. That's it. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday walkthrough. That's that you practice. But if you're on the ready squad, what does that mean? Be ready to play. Because they don't call it the practice to play squad, right? That's too wordy and not as fun. But I think that messaging does matter, and you've seen it. I think the secondary, and I have a story coming about on this today. A little bit as my editor works through it. The secondary is really exemplifying a lot of McDonald's culture. A guy like Josh Jobe, not only being in the starting lineup, but playing well. A guy like Kobe Bryant, waiting his turn, playing against the Falcons, ultimately taking Rayshon Jenkins' job. And now you see Darion Kendrick just got here a month ago, Puck. And he's ball hawking everything. DeAnthony Bell playing yesterday, Ty Okada, who hadn't played well in the first 2 games, I didn't think, and then played decent in what I was able to watch on film this morning. So I think that the secondary has really exemplified a lot of what he wants this team to be. The idea that, like, I'm training all of you guys for greatness. Like, yeah, Spoon's here and Reek and whoever is their starters, but if I put you in the game, I need to trust you to uphold the standard of greatness in the room. And if you don't, I'll get you out of here. We showed that last year too. He's like, I'll just send you on your way, real quick. And I think that unit, more than anyone on the team, is that's Mike Macdonald's unit right there in terms of what his culture and the team wants to be.
I read this quote earlier to Jim, and Ernest Jones gave this to everyone post game in the media. Said, we're going to make it hard on you to run the ball on us. If you do, good luck to you. What is making them so far through 3 games effective in stopping the run? They're number 7 right now against the run, giving up 90 yards a game, Mike.
Yeah, and I think just against running back carries, they're even better, even higher. Like 3.2 yards or something like that, just specifically to running backs, and they haven't allowed a rushing touchdown at all. They're the only team that has not through 3 games. Like they've just been nails in that regard. I think Ernest is the perfect guy to deliver that quote because he's part of the reason. I think the biggest compliment anyone could have ever given him last week, or given any player, or last year, given any player, was I was like, hey, why is the run defense better? And they're all just like, the guy wearing 13 is here now, so we can defend the run. Like it was really just that simple for so many of those guys last year when they got rid of Tyrell Dodson and got rid of Jerome Baker. It was like, we have 13 now, Ernest Jones's number, so we can defend the run a lot better. He's the green dot. He sets the front. He does all the communication pre-snap, and he just gets them right. And on top of that, he finds the ball. He is always around the ball. A tackling machine, which most middle linebackers are, even if you're not that good. Cody Barton had a lot of tackles, right? For instance, but Ernest Jones is he's a tone setter. He's got a really good combination of calm, but also juice, because the middle linebacker, like it's loud in there. It was crazy last night, Puck. It was crazy. It was in a good way in terms of noise. Ernest can't hear anything, right? But he's got to be able to, all right, boom, boom, boom. Here's the play. Do all the communication. And if your guy go make a TFL, you got to go celebrate with him and dap him up, do your special handshake. But then right then, 2 seconds later, you got to lock back in. Here's the next call. Ernest handles all that really well. And I think his leadership is a big reason why they're stopping the run right now.
Yeah, I think the crowd thing, we've made so much of that. I think, in my opinion, it's too much of it. I mean, the crowd was great yesterday because you're playing the Saints. There's not a lot of people from New Orleans are traveling to Seattle for the game. And I think it looks different when it's San Francisco because they always travel. And it looked different last year when it was the Packers. It's a national brand. And it was different last year because Buffalo. It was like, for Buffalo fans, they're like, this is the only time they're out here, so we're all going to go out there and watch it. There weren't a bunch of Dolphin fans at the game last year. But again, yes, did it feel more normal yesterday against the Saints? Yeah, it was loud. Crowd was into it, and they gave them something to be into. And what came out of that game is, after a quiet first game, and you're like, God, where, all this hype in the offseason about Tory Horton, and then it was just nothing. And then last week against Pittsburgh, catches the touchdown. This week, touchdown, punt return. And boy, you see all that offseason hype and how even Jackson Smith and Jigba had talked about, I reminding you guys, I told you back in training camp how special he was. He definitely the last 2 games, Mike, has been living up to that.
Yeah, I think some of the stuff I saw in training camp is really starting to show in the games. And it really is, it sounds overly simplistic, but it's his athleticism. He is such a great athlete. He has such good balance in his movements. Like he can obviously run very fast in a straight line, but I mean, the 40-yard dash tells us which guys can do that, and not all those guys can translate to being, great receivers. Look at some of the fastest guys in the league. They're not all good receivers. Like, you need to be able to go horizontal in this league and layer your speeds. When can you decelerate? When can you go? How are your brakes? What happens when you have to get by somebody? We see a lot of Puck as guys do so much juking in the open space, they almost juke and trip themselves up, or they slow themselves down so much trying to elude someone that the guy chases them down from behind or something. Look at Tory's punt return. He stuck his foot in the ground and did like a basketball crossover, but was on such great balance. He was just able to just go. He just go right away. Didn't have to like re-get his speed going. He's really good. And it showed in camp too. It more showed on his routes because we don't watch punts in practice. But like his routes, he can just cut and then go and separate. And it's special. And he's got good. He plays the ball in the air really well. He can jump really high. Didn't have to jump particularly high in the touchdown, but you can just see it. I've been saying that he reminds me a lot of Golden Tate. Golden Tate was a freak athlete. Like, Golden had bounce. He was shifty. He was super agile. He clearly had runaway speed, that he showed all the time. He could backflip into the end zone. He was special. Tory reminds me of a bigger version of that. He did in camp, and now he's starting to look like that in the games too.
I'm just about to say that he's just, he's the only difference being he's bigger than Golden, just from a height perspective. But yeah, he's been real good. And he just has this enthusiasm about him that, when he makes a big play, that he's just so into it. And I think just brings a real spark to not only the special teams, but also the offense. It was a great route. It was probably an even better throw by Sam Darnold on that touchdown pass. And Sam Darnold now has backed up a very strong game against Pittsburgh didn't have to do much against the Saints on Sunday. But, when he had to, he was, again, Mike, very, very efficient with the football.
Yeah, this is what camp looked like for him too. Including maybe some boneheaded throws here and there. But Sam's, I think, been a lot better than I thought he would be with just consistent efficiency, ball placement. There's not a lot of throws. Even when you go back and look at him on film, it's like, Sam should have went here, or he puts that ball there. Maybe he saves his guy from a big hit. Like, he's been really good at that, better than I think he was early in his career. Something that Geno was noticeably good at. You don't see a lot of hospital balls with Geno. Guys aren't getting wrecked when they're throwing it over the middle. They're a really good example. It's a small play yesterday, but Derek Young had a ball over the middle, like a little in cut, and he throws it away from the safety. It looks like Derek kind of has to go, like, make a harder catch to go get it, but he's doing that so Derek doesn't get his head taken off, right? And that stuff matters, because if he does get his head taken off, the receivers coach, pass game coordinator is on Sam's butt immediately and in film. Sam's been really good at that, making the right read, getting it out quick, mitigating pressure, which he clearly struggled with towards the ends of last year. I mean, look at the first play to Jackson yesterday. Yeah, just a protection breakdown, and there's a defensive tackle in his lap. Spin away, throw to his left. Sam's been good, and this is what they want, though. They don't want Sam to have to throw for 400, and carry them. It's like, no. You can be check down Charlie, take a couple shots here. Hopefully, we're running the ball and playing good enough defense. That's all we need. They only checked one of those boxes yesterday, but got special teams box checked to help out. But yeah, I wasn't high on Sam coming into this season, but he's been far more efficient and decisive than I expected. We'll see if that holds up against some better teams, but so far it's been good. It was even good against the Niners, I think, as well, in those same respects.
And then you've covered a lot of games over the years, and I don't know, have you ever covered a game in which the starters are being pulled 14 minutes from the game? And it's just, they don't play on Sunday. They're playing on Thursday. I mean, to get those guys off the field, a little rested up for a Thursday matchup with Arizona, who obviously is reeling with the James Conner injury news, out for the season. It was just a win-win, best case scenario for them yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, as bad as some of the injury bug has been biting them, that was a big blessing yesterday to look up in the 14 minutes left and see Drew Lock warming up. It's like, oh my goodness, that's got to feel great. They ended up playing their starters a series in the fourth quarter on defense. I thought that was playing with fire. I don't. Maybe that's a depth chart just issue or something, or getting the helmet switched out so you can get a new green dot. But boy, as soon as if fourth quarter comes, I would have pulled it. Leo, come here, come sit next to me. Ernest, come sit next to me. Kobe, come sit next to me. Especially the DBs. Josh, Reek, come sit next to me. But it sounds like they all made it through okay, with the exception of Robbie Hoots got hurt there. But yeah, I mean, you couldn't ask for much more. That was they need that puck. I mean, I do like the next man up mentality, but like, you don't want to play with fire, because as teams are showing across the league, specifically in the NFC West, one play could change anything. Saw Bosa got hurt. I didn't see that till this morning. Saw the James Conner thing. It can get bad around the league. So anytime you can play your guys out, take advantage.
Well, and I think that now that you're playing, this criminal thing that they make these guys do to play on Thursday night. I mean, the fact is now they can get rested, start that whole process early in that game, and to get off their feet even more. So it was just perfect for them. I mean, you couldn't have, I guess, scripted a better win yesterday for them. What do we think? We'll probably know more later, but what are you hearing about Robbie Hoots?
I don't even think, he just said he had an ankle. I missed the press conference yesterday. Robbie was in the tent for a long time yesterday, came out, tested the ankle, standing there talking to the trainers. I couldn't tell who he was talking to because I don't bring binoculars, but shout out to Brady Henderson. He was like, that's the team doctor that he's talking to. And then I went to go get some popcorn, came back, and Robbie was gone. And there was no update on the radio this morning either. So I'm very curious how that ankle's looking. He didn't come back in the game. They ended up putting Brady Russell in because they were up a bazillion points. But I do think if Robbie has to be out, that is a big loss. I like Brady Russell, but it's not like the run game's clicking as is. We've got a 3-game sample now and one good game in that sample. So I'm a little worried about that. And if they have to lose Robbie as well on Thursday, that could get dicey. So yeah, hopefully when we talk to Mike later today, he knows a little bit more, but I think he learned his lesson already, Puck, last week or 2 weeks ago with the high ankle thing with Nick, where it's like, maybe I just shouldn't play doctor up here and just wait until these injury reports come out, which is probably right because you don't want to downplay things that are serious, and you don't want to be too pessimistic with a thing that ultimately ends up not being that bad. So you're better off just saying nothing.
Mike, I find myself, and I'm going to buy you some binoculars. Get some binoculars and peek on down there.
I have some. It's an arrogance thing. It's not an equipment issue. They might even be right here next to me. I have some. I just don't like
What's wrong with you?
There's just some arrogance to me. Everyone else in the press box is older, so I'm like, oh, these guys need that.
Oh,
I don't
hold back.
Yeah, that's all. It's really, there's no good reason for me not to be using
it's all good
binoculars. Well, at home,
Mike,
their sideline is closer. On the road, I should use them because the Seahawks sideline is the opposite side of the press box when we're on the road. I should carry them. I'm 33. I feel like I don't need them.
7 years. 7 years, Mike, right here. 7 years, you're going to need them. You're going to need them. And you know what? And I'll be honest with you, when you put the readers on, it's sad. It is sad. and it makes you feel less of a person and a man. But
I am holding it off to try to take advantage of my vision privilege. I like to call it. I do the pod with Chris can't see.
Chris Kidd is blind as a bat.
Yeah, and he'll tell you that he's blind, and I want to just take it. I take pride in my vision.
You can explain some of his clothes choices sometimes when Sorry,
I got some critiques of my pants that I wore yesterday.
That was unfair.
Some people,
unfair, Sean. But if I had binoculars, and I find myself doing this, not binoculars at home, but when I watch the game, I focus in on two people. On offense, I find myself, the only player I watch now is Gray Zabel. I just watch him on every play because I just love watching him block. But on defense, I watch Leonard Williams, and he's everywhere. He's just and I want, if you're a big Seahawks fan, because we all follow the ball, it's natural. Go back and watch the game yesterday and just watch 99. Don't watch anyone else. And watch this guy completely wreck the offense consistently on every snap. It's awesome. It's unbelievable what he's doing.
He's what a 3 technique looks like. He's with defensive tackle. That's it. That's the thing that you need. They've been chasing like a Michael Bennett replacement for about 6-7 years now. That's what it's supposed to be. Not LJ Collier, not Rasheem Green, not Malik McDowell. As you can see, they've spent some resources on some guys, not Draymond Jones, who they gave $50 million to be that. No, it's with 99. Looks like he's hard. He's tough to block. You can't block him in the run game. I mean, you look at, I'm glad Mike McDonald brought it up on the radio this morning. The play, so they had a 3rd and 1, I believe, a 3rd and 2, that Leonard just blows up. Just blows by, I think, the right guard. Just stuffs Kamara. Then they try to tush push, false start, punt. Yeah. Tory houses it. All right. And he said he's going to show that sequence, not just the plays, not just the individual play, but the sequencing of it. It's like, if we do our part, great things happen. Those yards matter, So I think that, and I noticed that watching the game back this morning, it's like, wow, this is like Leonard and Tory were working together, so to speak, in that, in that sequence there. And that was huge. And that doesn't happen if Leonard doesn't just decide he's better than the guard or the center. He does that at least 3-4 times a game where he just looks like he just decides, I'm better than this guy. Ready, break, and goes. It's a special player.
Yeah, he's just everywhere right now. He's just out. I mean, every play, he is just a chore for the other team to block. All right, what do we got working right now? What's coming up at the Athletic? People go read the work. Where can they find it? Where can they listen and watch you break down yesterday's game as well?
Yeah, so our new Seahawks Man to Man podcast is up. It's called House Call. It's up on YouTube, on all audio platforms, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your stuff. We're available there. We're going to do our One Big Thing segment as well this week. No opponent preview because it's a condensed week, and the Cardinals, no one covers the Cardinals. It feels like have a struggle every week finding an opposing media person that doesn't work for the team. So no opponent preview, but that'll be available, I believe, Wednesday. Got my post-game stories up on The Athletic right now. My editor, as we speak, is looking over my Darian Kendrick / defense story. That's coming up. As soon as he finishes that. Shout out to Puck. I like how they call him DK. So it's obviously his initials.
Yeah,
But like
something else to it.
Something in me just feels like this is not a coincidence. I don't know. Maybe he's been called DK his whole life. He just got here, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoy it. It's like, yeah, DK made a great play today. I'm like, oh, okay. You guys have replaced him already, huh? All right. Well, isn't that convenient that you already have a new DK? But shout out to him. He's playing really well.
He's playing great. The Dugar Report with Michael-Shawn Dugar from The Athletic. Follow him on X at Mike Dugar. And again, watch and listen to his podcast with our guy, Chris Kidd, Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast. Also, go check out his book, The Franchise Story of the Seattle Seahawks, wherever books are sold. And for home games, if you get there early, right, you'll even sign it.
I will. Halftime, too. And on the road. Hit me up. I usually travel with at least a couple. So I know Seahawks fans travel in packs to this Arizona game. So if you're there, I'll have some in my bag, heading to the stadium. So yeah, halftime, pregame, hit me up, DM me. All my DMs are open on all social platforms. I got a Sharpie with me everywhere I go. So I'll sign your book.
All right, Mike, we'll talk to you. And then again, Seahawks, Arizona coming up on Thursday. Be well.
All right. Go Cougs.
We always got to end it with a go Cougs. Thank
you,
Mike.
No matter what. No matter what.
No matter what. There he is, Michael-Shawn Dugar, the Dugar Report from The Athletic, with us every single Monday on the Daily Puck Drop and Puck Sports. In case you missed any of that, a podcast will be up later on YouTube and all podcast platforms, including the heavyweights, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. His weekly conversation, Talking Seahawks, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, makers of Manny's Pale Ale, Bodhisattva, also Rogers Pilsner, and their tavern beer. A tasting room and beer garden open daily from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Visit them at georgetownbeer.com. We go back over to baseball. Bill Krueger, Old School Baseball Podcast, joins me every single Monday. Of course, used to work for Root Sports. He's with me on Mondays talking Mariners baseball. They're fresh off a sweep. They've got a commanding lead in the American League West, and they've also right now have a 3-game lead, I guess, how you look at it, over the Detroit Tigers for the second seed, and it would be a first-round bye and would just get set for the ALDS series here in Seattle. Monday Conversations with Bill Krueger. Our coverage of baseball brought to you by John Howie Steak. Dining, visit John Howie Steak, an experienced premier Northwest dining. Prime custom aged steaks, award-winning wine, unmatched level of service. You won't be disappointed. Make your next reservation today at johnhowiesteak.com. Well, Bill Krueger. Here he is, host of the Old School Baseball Podcast, in which you can find on all podcast platforms. Follow him on X at _MLB. Talking Mariners baseball every Monday. Well, 3 up, really 4, with 6 to play. What a series in Houston. What's your biggest takeaway from that sweep, which was probably the biggest series in the regular season this franchise has had, maybe in forever?
Yeah, it's right up there. They went into Houston knowing that they had to get the lead in the division. They had to win 2 out of 3 to get the home field to get the tiebreaker. So they were able to accomplish all of that and did it with a swashbuckling kind of way. I mean, they kind of took it to them. This was a passing of the torch, no question. I think that Houston's time as a dominant player in the AL West is now going to start to sunset. Granted, they have some injuries right now. Alvarez, their big guy in the middle, he hasn't really played all season. He had a nice stretch of 19 games where he hit 370 and slipped on home plate and wasn't available. And Josh Hader, their premium closer, doesn't play. I'm not making excuses for the Astros because I think even with those guys there, the Mariners are better. They're just better. The Mariners made critical additions at the deadline, and their pitching has kind of rounded itself up. And right now, they just, in all aspects of the game, are better than the Astros, and they proved it over that weekend.
Yeah, and you know what? When you have starters go out there, kind of the 3 top guys in your rotation, and they give up 1 earned run. And that's something that we've we've kind of discussed all season, right, Bill, is these starters, they've been up and down. They've been injured. They haven't pitched quite as good as they have in the past. But boy, did they show up in that series against Houston at the exactly right time.
And really, that's not a surprise. First of all, they're very talented. Second of all, I think over the past couple of years, that's become the dominant feature of why the Mariners have outplayed the Astros over the last couple of years. They've had a better record against the Astros. I mean, they've just been better because their big right-handed pitching takes their right-handed hitting lineup and neutralizes it. The only hope for the Astros is to match their pitching and try to win a bullpen game. And their bullpen game isn't there without Hader. So, the Mariners were able to basically hold serve against Hunter Brown. They got a couple runs off him, chased him after 6, and Flamber Valdez, they got three off of him, and got him out of the game in the middle. And there's no firepower on the other side of the Astros against our right-handed pitching. They just don't have it. So they only have 2 lefties in the lineup, and one of them required the deadline, Sanchez, and the switch hitting catcher. And that's it. That's all they have.
You mentioned it previously, passing of the torch. I agree with you. We've discussed this a lot, that they needed to go through this team. They needed to be the team to bury the Houston Astros, to win the division. And they essentially have done that. They didn't leave it up to anybody else. No one else took care of their business for them. They're the ones that did it. How much, I mean, you've played a lot of sports. How much does that now carry over and help this team confidence-wise moving forward to the playoffs?
Well, I just think they're a confident team. I think the one thing that was sort of hanging out there was the 2 long East Coast road trips where they went sideways record-wise and had a hard time keeping the other team from scoring and really just didn't play very well both those trips. There's a lot to do with the schedule. There's a lot to do with the weather. It's a combination of things. But this past trip, going 5-1, they've now, I think, found their place on the road, that they can play well, and their pitching has solidified itself on the road. I mean, we're talking about from a mental standpoint. Styles make fights, matchups make interesting series. The Mariners did face some teams with some left-hand hitting on those 2 previous road trips, and they did have trouble. And even in Kansas City, it's not like they slammed the door on the Royals. So there's still some issues around that. But when you look at the breadth of the team, the fact that Castillo has kind of found himself now and is pitching much better and has made a significant change in his arsenal and how he's deploying it. Okay. Gilbert is back pitching well. Kirby's pitching well. I mean, of course, we're going to talk about Woo and whether or not that's going to be something that's hanging out there that's a worry. And their bullpen, I think there's some real unsung heroes out there that we probably should spend some time talking about. And that's Gabe Spires and Edwards Brizardo. And I have not given Brizardo his due. You look at those 2 guys, 70 appearances for Brizardo, 73 appearances for Spire. They've taken the ball on multiple days. They've pitched in all different places in the game at critical moments, and they've delivered in spades. Both those guys are not going to get the credit they deserve. The glory is going to go to Munoz and Brash. Yeah. And I'm telling you right now that Brizardo might be the best pitcher in that bullpen. Well, Spire's been great, but I'm not so sure that Brizardo's not the best pitcher in the bullpen. I know that sounds crazy. And there's a guy that I was kind of throwing on the back end of this team's maladies, right? I threw him in there with Lecamina and Vargas and the cast of thousands that have pitched the middle of the game. And I have underestimated him. I have not given him his credit. His fastball has ticked up 2 or 3 points. He's got a great breaking ball. He pitches with moxie. His stuff is good every time out, and he attacks, and he's pitching so much better than he has in the past. He just really has established himself, and I think a lot of credit is due him.
And I think they both have these moments to rise to big occasions. Go back to Spire on Saturday. Game's teetering there. It's a 2-run game. Vargas can't close the door. He's coughing up runs left and right. Spire comes in, runners second and third, 2 outs, and he strikes out Christian Walker. And just 99, the emotion that pours out of Gabe Spire after that strikeout was, you're right. He's been sensational, and so has Bizzardo.
In talking about Spire, he's had to cover and be sort of that dominant number 3 guy in the bullpen, not lefty or righty. He's had to get like a Christian Walker, and that's not the first time he's had to come in and get. Now, granted, when you're a left-handed pitcher in today's game in relief, you're going to face some right-hand hitters. That's just how it goes. But he's had to come in and intentionally be facing right-hand hitters because there are stretches of time where Dan Wilson, that was his best answer in the bullpen. So I just think those guys have really, really done a great job and made a big difference in this team. And because this is not the quality start machine from last year. This is not 6 innings or better from 5 starters and just go right to the end of the game. That hasn't been the case. There's been a lot of 4 2/3 and 5 1/3 and 5 and 5 and 4 2/3 and 5 1/3 from the starting staff. So there's been a lot of cover. And they can't win. They can't be where they are without those 2 guys.
I want to go back to what you said about Castillo. You said he's made some type of change. What is the change that you've noticed from Luis Castillo in his last few starts?
Well, he's focusing on getting ahead, and he's using his off-speed stuff early in counts a lot more. He's not going out and saying, I'm going to pitch up and down with my fastball and I'll mix the breaking ball and the changeup in every once in a while. He's throwing a much higher percentage of those 2 pitches, in particular, the changeup. His last turn, I think he threw it I'm pretty sure it's north of 20. I can't remember if he threw it as many as 25 times his last start. So I think you're seeing Castillo making some critical adjustments because, he just doesn't have the 96 to 99 anymore. He just doesn't have it, and that doesn't mean he can't pitch because he's got movement and he's got deception. He's got the upshoot just like Woo does. And it's a matter of him using his breaking ball and his changeup more. He just isn't in a place where, like Bryan Woo, where he can throw 70-75% fastball. He can't do it. He'd have to be almost like Dennis Martinez-like control, where you're like hitting a Nats, what. I mean, he's just an amazing. I'm talking about Dennis Martinez. I thought he was, of all the guys that I pitched with, I thought he had the most exquisite control of anyone I ever witnessed. I mean, and I didn't play with Maddox. I did play with Eckersley, and Eckersley, of course, was pretty magnificent. But Dennis Eckersley could hit just a spot. He could hit a die anywhere on the strike zone, and so that's important when you're pitching is to have that kind of command.
I do want to go, but let's go back to Castillo's last start. I mean, that's a big game. I mean, you drop 2 out of 3 there to the Royals. You don't feel good. You don't have a lot of confidence. You go into the Houston series and like, God, did we overlook this team? As now we're facing Houston, but they get the job done in a very tight game. It's only 2-0, and Castillo pitches 6 innings, 3 hits. Doesn't walk a guy, and he strikes out 3. He just feels. I think I was talking to a buddy of mine. He's a I don't know if we in the media or fans make too much of this. To me, he's a gamer. He just seems to be when the pressure is on, and there's a big game moment. I remember turning to my friend. I said, "We need to see the Castillo versus Toronto tonight. This is the type of start you need from him." He has that in him. Do certain players have that? Does he rise to the occasion, in your opinion?
Yeah, he's a really confident guy, and he doesn't let situations get the best of him. He stays very even keel. He seems to just have fun with baseball. He feels like he's got a gift, and he does. He's got a multi-generational arm. I mean, that guy can throw 110, 120 pitches a game. They just don't let him do it. Yeah, I think he's got a great makeup for big time situations. He really does. And, it's going to be critical for him to throw his changeup more, to revive the changeup that he had back in the National League with the Reds when he had what many termed as a dominant changeup. That's the pitch that's going to even the score and get lefties out because he can dominate righties still. So that's going to be critical. as they get into the playoffs against certain clubs that have more left-handed hitting. And that's where the Mariners, hopefully, they got through this Kansas City series, but again, they had some left-hand hitting there. I knew when they got to Houston that they were gonna all pitch well. I really did. I felt like they would win 2 out of 3. I didn't know a sweep was in their bag, but they're just a great matchup for the Mariners. Houston's just a great matchup for them. I think it's with their right-hand pitching.
Well, they have got, again, a big lead here now with, 6 games remaining. They've got their 2 games up on the Tigers currently, really 3 because of the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
If they can just, 10-2, drive this thing home,
Right.
Bill, they're gonna bypass the wild card and they'll get ready for the American League Divisional Series. People are split on this one. I'm curious, as you being a player, where do you stand on this? Would you like to continue to play, or do you like the potential, week-long break for them?
That's really a hard call. I think young teams have a tendency to maybe need to keep playing, or maybe a team that has a little bit more veteran presence. I think the Mariners kind of fall somewhere closer to the veteran presence than they are a young team. So they should be able to manage this, see that it's something in their favor. Why is this good? First of all, they get to play at home. Second of all, they have to skip a series, which is great. We've already experienced the wild card and what that can do to you. It turns your pitching sideways. It never gives you a chance to reset your pitching. And right now, kind of a critical thing, because Bryan Woo, listen, I'm not going to play doctor. I know a lot about pitching arms. I know when you get hurt and you can't continue in a game, when you do something at very high speed, it's significant. I don't mean significant like he's done for the year, but he's not going to pitch next week.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you want to call it the disabled list for 2 weeks, that's what they're looking at. So he's going to need a week to rest, and hopefully he can come back out of this and pitch again. And their best chance, of course, is with their number 1 starter, Bryan Woo. They have the pitching to be able to overcome the loss of Woo, but to be their best self, they need him. So I think that's the way you have to look at it. Get over like momentum, get over like, we're running and we're a machine offensively. Oh, you should just keep playing. No, you have to look at one thing and one thing only, and that is you're going to get Woo back, hopefully, and you're going to give that bullpen a breather. Okay, because the bullpen's been, how many 4-inning covers have the bullpen had this year? A lot. So I think those are the 2 things you look at, Woo and the bullpen. And you just have to find ways to stay sharp with this week off, because I don't think they'd play until October the 4th.
4th. So I just looked at it on my my calendar. I still have an old school calendar. Yes, I write everything down. It's the only way to remember stuff.
Love it. You and me both.
And so 15 days. It would be 15 days from when he pitched on Friday until then. So yeah, the rest would be great for him. Now if he goes. Well, they don't have to put him on the IL. They don't have to. But I have never heard of a pitcher suffering that type of injury or that discomfort in the pec. You hear about the elbow and the shoulder, but never the pec. What have you experienced something like that as a pitcher? What he potentially is going through?
It's odd, and it speaks to the way he throws a baseball
because of his arm slot being low.
His low arm slot. And he kind of gets in this position, I don't know if I can show it to you, where when we're throwing, I'm going to do it this way with my right arm. Right arm, you want the big muscles up here. You want to be throwing the ball this way.
Mm-hmm.
And he is down in here, and he's throwing the ball this way. And see how much he pushes against the front side of his arm? You got to have super strong, the back of your shoulder, the rotator cuff, it's like the brakes. If you get weak, and the brakes fail, what happens is the front starts to give. You get what? Bicep tendonitis right here. That's the bicep connection because you're shoving it forward, no brakes in the back. So this gets inflamed right here. And there could be a biceps tendonitis pec kind of thing right here because he's down in here. He's down, he drops down, he shoves it this way and upshoots it. So, there's all kinds of issues. You're shoving your elbow forward. You're shoving this part of your shoulder forward. You're not up here throwing this way. That's the way you're supposed to throw. And then the ultimate breakdown is when, this starts to hurt and then it gets so bad in the back that the back breaks and then there's rotator cuff surgery. I'm not painting that picture. Bryan Woo is a strong young man. He has to be strong to pitch the way he does. He's athletic and strong. Do I think this is a major injury? No. But when you do something in a game, you do something like that at high speed, because he did it on a pitch. Whatever, at the end of the fifth. He did it. It wasn't like, it's a little bit sore, it's tight. No, he did it on a pitch. Guaranteed. So he's done something to strain that pec or that bicep tendon connection. I think it's in here somewhere. Like I said, I did stay in the Holiday Inn Express. I feel pretty confident after my night stay there. But I mean, I have some experience with arm injuries, and I do understand these things. So he's going to rest. He's going to have to rest. I think they stop him for at least a week, and then try to baby step him back to the mound, and hopefully he can just grab the reins and pitch somewhere in that first. If they get to the ALDS, he'd pitch somewhere in that series, maybe not even right out of the chute, because they just want to buy as much time as possible for him.
Is it his shortstop days that has him with that lower arm slot?
Hard to say. Maybe. That kind of throwing that you don't get as high with your arm when you throw in infield, because you got to be quicker, right? So it could be the case, and he was able to fashion a deceptive style, the way he pitched. I don't think he went in it going, I've got a deceptive style. This is really going to work for me. This is going to make me an all-time great, one of the best in baseball. That's just how his body works. And we have a tall strike zone today. The top part of the strike zone is there to be had. So you can have two different fastballs and pitch up and down, which he does. He sinks it, runs it, and then pitches at the top. It's a fantastic style. Talking amongst the circle of people that I talk to, pitchers, they've all said the same thing to me. It's a cautionary. He's got the mechanics that make you feel, a little bit, right? You're going to have to be super strong to overcome those mechanics. And hopefully he's not just a comet that comes speeding in and then it's gone. Hopefully he can maintain it. But we're not worried about that right now. We're worried more about getting this back to where it's not hurting anymore and he can pitch again.
It's hard to say something not involving Cal Raleigh should be the play of the year so far. But that Robles catch on Saturday, under the circumstances, the injury that he sustained earlier in the year, that has got to be the play of the year.
Yeah, I think you're pretty close to it, because they get another run there, and they've got people in scoring position, and one more hit, and you got a different outcome. Munoz a little bit walking the plank a little bit there, and not to suggest that Munoz wouldn't have bowed his neck and got that last out, but it was a big play, and he's got elite defensive skills. We know that he can really cover, and made a terrific play, all out effort to catch that baseball. I mean, he plays with unbridled enthusiasm and tremendous energy. And, I think Rodriguez has to remind himself who's out there, because he's used to having Canzone over there, and he pretty much takes anything he can get. And I think that's the rule of thumb with Canzone. And I don't mean to, because Canzone's had a pretty good year defensively. His last, month or so, he's not played very well, but he's not a great defender. Whereas Robles is an elite defender, right? So a tremendous play. And he's lifted the team. He's starting to find his stroke a little bit. So there's a lot of speed in the outfield now for the Mariners. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Carl Ravitch coming on and saying they've got 3 center fielders. I'm like, oh, come on now. Now you haven't watched the Rosarina play all season long. Let's not get ourselves. Rosarina is not a center fielder. Okay. Correct. But they have a lot of speed out there. They have a lot of speed.
It was great. You're sitting there watching on TV, and you're like, oh my God, it's going to drop. And then just bam, out of nowhere. It was just unbelievable. Play. Like you said, he got injured. So, he put it all on the line to catch that baseball.
And
there's a lot of players that wouldn't have done that, Bill. They've been knowing what the injury that he sustained earlier. knowing that if I do this again, I could potentially injure himself. But he said, no, it's going to throw my body out there. I just love it. I love it. I just all out 100% hustle. It is just, it was a beautiful thing to watch. All right, Bill Krueger, host of the Old School Baseball podcast, with us every Monday. You can check it out on all podcast platforms. Also follow him on X at Old School MLB, where he posts videos up there talking baseball. Thank you, Bill. As always, appreciate it. And we'll talk next week. We'll get gear up for the playoffs next Monday.
Sounds really good, Jace.
See ya.
It's
There he
be
is.
fun.
Oh, it's going to be the best. We'll talk to you next Monday. There he is, Bill Krueger, Old School Baseball, here on Puck Sports and, of course, the Daily Puck Drop. And again, if you missed any of Bill Krueger's appearance on Monday's Daily Puck Drop here on pucksports.com, you can find the full show on YouTube. Search Puck Sports. Also on your favorite podcast platforms. Does not matter. Apple, Spotify, whatever you choose. Every Monday, Bill Krueger, Old School Baseball Podcast. Follow him at old__MLB there on X. He is one of the best in the biz. That breakdown on Bryan Woo and how he suffered that injury, because I've never seen a pitcher leave with a pec injury. And to hear him describe what he thinks has led to that pec injury was pretty cool. And again, people have a debate whether or not they should play in the wild card or not. Is the time off good or not? You can probably make a case on both sides. I just think where they're at, I agree with what Bill's point was. This is a veteran group, can handle it better maybe than a younger group, but especially with your number one pitcher right now ailing, time off would be certainly good for him. All right, let's wrap up the show with Hey, What the Puck, as we do every single show. Brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. It's your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when these damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. We get caught up in sports all the time, whether it's professional sports. You know, college sports is changing more than it's ever had. I don't think for the better in terms of the money, how we look at it. I think the innocence has been lost, especially in college athletics, and we've allowed the dollar to rule everything. What has not been lost and what brings you back to kind of the essence of sports is what I witnessed on Friday night. I had an opportunity to go and work the game, King 5's big game of the week with Chris Egan, which they now are streaming their games on the King 5 Plus app. You can go back and watch it. And we were at Issaquah and Skyline on Friday. And what I love so much about it was getting there, doing the game, and watching the crowd. It's what makes sports the best. And watching that environment, being inside that environment, especially in high school, and that just beautiful setting in Issaquah, which is, if you've never seen a football game there, it's just tremendous. And, you know, backdrop of Tiger Mountain, surrounded by the trees and the forest. And, you know, the whole town turns out, shuts down, people walking over from their homes, from downtown. You know, Issaquah is very old school, kind of has that old school feel to it. And then, you know, the whole Skyline crowd comes over as well. And it was a terrific football game. Skyline ended up winning that game. But just the involvement of all the students, the involvement of all the parents and volunteers and everyone that put that game off was sensational. But it just reminded me, as you get kind of, you know, put off by college sports now and some things that happen in professional sports, you go to an environment like that and witness a game like that, you just remember how much sports are important, especially at that level. And to see all the work that those kids put in, and it just was a really awesome environment. And hats off to Chris Egan and everyone at King 5. The amount of work that guy puts in, I mean, he's there at 2:30, and I don't think he packed up and left that place until midnight. That's how long he puts in, and you would not tell that he is worn out. I hope people understand, and I think a lot of you do, the absolute gem that you have in Chris Egan, that he gets to talk sports and brings you the sports highlights and news every single night, and especially his coverage of high school sports. There is no one better than him. Well, certainly from a TV perspective, and no one even does it but him. But how his interaction with people at the school, with the kids, the work he puts in, but the enthusiasm he has for it to cover that as if it's covering the Seahawks in the Super Bowl or the Mariners in the World Series. He treats it the same. It's just, work ethic is off the charts, and his enthusiasm for sports and high school sports off the charts there as well. That's Hey What the Puck, again, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. It's your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Give them a call when those damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Thank you for everyone watching and listening to today's show. Big thanks to all of our sponsors, Limback Lumber, Clean Streak, Brotherton Cadillac, and I'm missing one. Limback, hold on, Brotherton Cadillac, A Clean Streak, and the Angry Beaver, who bring you Jim Moore every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Also, thank you to our Puck Sports advertisers, Limback Lumber, Georgetown Brewery, John Howie Steak, and Flat Stick Pub. Also, and Restoration One. Today's Daily Puck Drop, find it up on YouTube. When you're there, please subscribe to the channel. Also, find the Daily Puck Drop on your favorite podcast platforms and everything up at pucksports.com, where you can sign up to become a member of the Pucks Posse. $5 a month. You support all the free content we do. In addition to that free content that we hand out every single day, you get bonus shows as well throughout the week, including our baseball coverage with Ryan Divish of the Seattle Times, Thursday appearances with Mitch Unfiltered, Mitch Levy, KJ Arntz, and our monthly podcast, The Sports Pit, with myself, Steve Sandmeyer, and Matt Stretch Johnson. Also, be sure to check out Mondays, Graz with Gas Take 5 podcast out on YouTube and all your podcast platforms. That will come out later today. And you can find everything up, again, at pucksports.com. That is a Monday show in the books. Mariners, a well-deserved day off. We'll talk to you on tomorrow's show, Tuesday. Jim Duquette, MLB Network Radio, stops on by. John Canzano talking college football. And Danny Kelly from The Ringer getting you covered and wrapping up week number 3 in the NFL. A look ahead to week 4 and all your fantasy football advice. That's coming up on Tuesday's Daily Puck Drop on pucksports.com. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Until then, as always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!